and welcome to the Collaborative on Health and the Environment Alaska Teleconference Seminar with Kristi Marsh on Little Changes, How to Avoid Toxic Chemicals in Your Daily Life. My name is Diana DeFazio, and on behalf of Alaska Community Action on Toxics, I'll be facilitating today's call. CHE Alaska is a regional partnership group of the National Collaborative on Health and the Environment. CHE Alaska aims to advance knowledge and effective action to address growing concerns about the links between human health and environmental factors. You can find more information on the websites www.akaction.org and www.healthandenvironment.org. The call will last 1 hour, and except for the speakers, all participants are muted during the presentation. There will be an opportunity for discussion towards the end of the call. Before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to remind everyone that a link to Kristi's presentation slides can be found on the call webpage on our website at www.akaction.org. Today's call will not only be about changes that you can make, but also how you can effectively share your knowledge with others. So whether you are new to the journey of avoiding toxic chemicals or are already well on your way, Kristi's story and suggestions will help inspire you to take the next step. Today we are honored to be joined by Kristi Marsh, whose personal journey led her to become a passionate advocate for environmental health. Diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer at age 36 and with 3 young children at home, Kristi started on a quest to eliminate harmful chemicals from her life and environment. Now a proponent for environmental health, Kristi's passion is to share her knowledge and journey with others. Kristi founded Choose Wiser, an organization dedicated to educating people about the interaction between environmental toxins and their health, and empower and encourage them to raise the bar on the products they purchase and bring into their homes by becoming savvy, aware consumers. In her first book, Little Changes, Kristi candidly describes her journey of discovery and lessons she learned about the products we smother on our skin, foods we devour, and surroundings in which we immerse ourselves. Kristi has been recognized by Prevention Magazine's Picture of Health, Clean Water Action's 2011 John O'Connor Award, Healthy Living Magazine's Champion of Health 2010 Awards, and Green School's 2009 Outstanding Leadership Awards. She lives with her family near Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome, Kristi.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to go ahead and begin?
Absolutely. Thank you. And good afternoon, and I guess good morning, as I believe we have listeners from across the United States here, if not further. As you mentioned, I am in Boston, and I am the founder, and I like to say the force behind ChooseWiser.com and the recently proud new mama of Little Changes that just launched this spring. And I also would like to mention that I'm very, very honored that you reached out to have me as a guest speaker today. Your organization as a whole has been over time a mentor to myself as I grew through my journey, and so I'm very honored to be here today as I'm coming into my own. And I think for a little bit of housekeeping with my own presentation style, as I go through this afternoon, I'm going to share with you a piece of my journey, and more important, why I'm doing what I do, and in the process, what I have learned about through the journey and how maybe my story can help you as you go through your journeys as well. I have provided the PDF with the slides, but that doesn't mean you need to use them. If some of you as guests are here without using the slides or in front of your computers, I am much more a talker, and so the pieces that I provided on the slides are visual enhancements, but you don't need to have them in order to experience today. And so what I would do as I go through the slides or as I'm talking is I'll just say the page number as I move ahead, or I will just say the word next. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Those who do have the slides, it's just on a title page with my Choose Wiser and introduces Little Changes branding. And so I'll say next, and on to page number 2 we go. So I am basically a chauffeur, a cook, and a cleaner, as many of us are. I am also a self-published author, so I took my journey and decided to self-publish, mostly because I felt a sense of urgency in my message, and I did not want to take the time that it would take to go through a traditional publisher. I'm also my own agent, as my first passion is actually speaking in front of audiences and in front of groups where I can actually connect with the audience and watch their eyes light up, and so I've become my own speaker agent. I am my own coach and my own shipping department manager here at ChooseWiser as well, and I'm loving it all on the journey. But my journey really did start a little over 5 years ago, and it started with an aha moment. I wasn't raised environmentally conscious. I wasn't raised green or crunchy, as some of us are fortunate to have been. But I was, raised as a mainstream consumer. And when I was 35 years old, my children were 7, 5, and 3 years old. And if you go ahead and click onto the next screen, next, you'll see a picture of my 3 children there, enjoying life. And when I was 35, they were 7, 5, and 3. And I was a list-making, event planning, coordinating, volunteering, stay-at-home mom. This was my life, the hustle and the bustle and the chaos of getting them off to half-day preschool, half-day kindergarten, and after-school activities for third graders. And it was then that I discovered my own lump, and that would be the lump that 1 in 8 of us will discover or be diagnosed with, or for some of us, discover too late. So if you could go to the next slide. The tumor that I had discovered was breast cancer. And I think I was rather surprised at this because my discovery was not due to a monthly checkup of myself. I wasn't checking myself out monthly with a little calendar because why would I? Cancer wasn't in my family. I was 35 years old, and as far as I was concerned, this was the last thing that was going to be in my future. But I guess most of us are pretty surprised when it happens. So we started the personalized recipe for myself, which entailed radiation and 8 surgeries and chemotherapy. My particular tumor was categorized as very angry and very aggressive. And once they went in for surgeries, they found an additional disc-like tumor against the chest wall that was about the size of a Reese's peanut butter cup. That wasn't detected in any of the screenings I had done beforehand. So the chemotherapy was rather needed, and so we poured in these toxic chemicals into my veins so they could go in and swirl around my arms and my legs and my arteries and back around to my core so that they would go forth and eradicate any rogue cancer cells that they could find. And in the meantime, these toxins, these poisons that we put into my body on purpose, also took out the cells in my stomach, the roof of my mouth, of course the hair cells, as well as any cancer cells, hopefully, bringing my body to its lowest functioning levels, which is kind of the purpose of chemotherapy. And if any of you have the PowerPoints in front of you, I want you to please don't be too judgmental about these self-portraits. I was on a lot of medication at the time. But one of the fascinating things that happened to me during that time is my aha moment. And I realized as soon as we put chemotherapy agents into my system that my body went right to work to rebuild. Immediately, it started rebuilding its blood cells and replenishing its white blood cells, trying to build my immune system stronger, rebuilding the bones and the stomach lining, and, well, the hair cells, and they always took a little bit longer. But we started to rebuild, and I could witness this within a day or two so that we could get the body strong enough to take it back down again with chemotherapy. But during this time, I became absolutely fascinated with our bodies, their genetic desire to live and to survive and to overcome. That's what it does. It gives us, every one of us, the gift of the best life possible. And I loved this, and I thought, this isn't just about someone fighting cancer. This happens to all of us. This happens to each and every one of us every single morning that we wake up. And I wanted to start to know, am I doing things to compromise this? Whether my life offered me one day or 40 more glorious years, I, at this point, suddenly had direction. And I wanted my actions to be guided by one priority, and that was now health. So I decided to use this gift of time that cancer was giving me to plan out my future and let me start researching. Now, I had been a lifelong gym member already. I loved eating healthfully. I already dutifully applied the sunscreen to myself and my children. But it was coming to me that this evidently was not enough. I wanted to know, were there other influences in my life that I could affect? And I started to go down this journey to discover were the products that I purchased and used healthy for me? Was the food that I was providing for my family the best I could find and place on the table? I started to question, were the products I used to clean my home keep out the germs, or did they compromise my family's health in some way? The bottom line was, could I influence my health through my surroundings? And it was here, wrapped in this understanding, that my life shifted on its axis. Next. So this began my quest. And I think it's important for me to share with all of you that I don't know what caused my breast cancer. This book and my journey is not about retaliation and anger in that sense. If I knew what caused my breast cancer, I'm sure this would be a totally different book in itself. But it was my entry point, as I'm sure a lot of us on this phone call and in this audience have come to this journey through an entry point that had to deal with disease or health issues, whether yourself or with family members. But with each decision that I made as I went down this journey, I wanted to be reassured, can I have an influence? But what was more important that I couldn't find in any of my reading in my books and articles and science periodicals and news was, can it actually be done? Is it accessible? Are my choices accessible? Or even more important, is it affordable? Can it be affordable? Because honestly, it seems to have a reputation to make these decisions was going to be pricey to my pocketbook. And honestly, if it wasn't going to be fun, I'm not quite sure how far along I'd be on the journey. So these became my focus points. Next. As I started to reach out beyond my own home and courageously find the words to talk to my friends about what I was doing, I found that, well, they could sit there with one eyebrow raised and arms crossed and kind of looking at me like, yep, there goes Kristi again on some journey. But underlying all that, there seemed to be this simmering and bubbling curiosity. So I used my past background in human resources and as a trainer and created my own little homemade do-it-yourself workshop and hit the road here in Easton, Massachusetts. And I talked at home parties and book clubs and at the schools. And I found that people wanted to know. They wanted to learn more, but they really didn't have necessarily the right words to reach out. And they're very curious. So I founded Choose Wiser, which became my website. It's a nice place in this day and age that people can learn in the privacy of their own home and reach out and start to learn. As of this summer, I'm changing Choose Wiser's focus, and this is almost an announcement right here, that I'm enhancing the website with a section that's called Home Eco-Momics 101, that over this summer I will be filling out with resources and tips and events so that people can use this as a learning resource themselves. Next. So the website eventually led to the Be Choosy newsletter. And this way I could start to reach out further. And my following grew from 18 people on my newsletter to 200 and 300. And since last November has doubled over to close to 1,200 people now on my newsletter. And I focus here on just sending out once a week or once every 2 weeks a tip or a focus that people can take into their lives and create and implement in their own home. And luckily with the world that we live in here with social marketing, we also have discussions over on the Choose Wiser Facebook page, Pinterest, of course, and LinkedIn and Twitter. Next. And all this was unfolding, and I found my way developing and reaching out to more people. Prevention Magazine, as you mentioned in the introduction, did a 2-page spread on myself and my journey. And they were focusing on 5 people that they considered were a picture of health, which honestly, as a cancer survivor, it's kind of a knock on wood type of phrase. You don't want to say that out loud. But they were celebrating those who were trying to create change. 2 of the other people were there for weight loss. 2 of the others were there for other health issues. And my platform was really the environmental health aspect. And in the end, what I loved about this message, this little piece of my life, is how I was one of 5 people that was selected to be celebrated in mainstream America, mainstream across the world with Prevention Magazine, due to environmental health. And that was another kind of aha moment for me, a key moment, realizing what a just swelling wave this is, even though it started decades ago, how it's really rumbling and coming to a point now. Next. So the natural progression from there was Little Changes. And Little Changes is my book. She was born on February 7th, so she's almost 4 months old right now. Really, I'm just in the infancy of her launch, and I'm very excited about her. I do not think there's anything else like Little Changes out there. It's a memoir, but it's a novel. It has a wallop of mainstream motherhood in it, a cup of humor, a smidgen of sarcasm. It wasn't written with the intent to shock or stun, and it certainly didn't come from the aspect of investigative reporter. That's not who I am. And as some of you who do have the PowerPoint in front of you can tell, the packaging and how I've wrapped it is whimsical, yet it weaves in this existing message of environmental health throughout the story. One of the nice surprises that I found over the last 90 days or so is that it's becoming a random act of kindness book. I think is the only way that I can describe this. That in my events, when I'm talking to people, when they come up to purchase, they buy one for themselves, and they buy one for their daughter in Colorado, for their niece down in Florida, for Mother's Day, that they give this book as a gift. And I can't even quite wrap my mind around how honored that it's taking this status so quickly. Next. One of the things that I had done for my own journey, and that I've intertwined inside Little Changes, is to take all of the different paths in environmental health and separate them into these 3 compartments, these 3 sections of the book. What we smother upon our bodies, what we devour, and our surroundings we immerse ourselves in. So often I feel like I'm standing in the center of a 10-speed or a racing bicycle, right there in the little hub. And every quarter of a change that I turn, every little degree, is a new path that goes out that we could start going down, whether it's cleaning products or the right type of milk or the options we have for sunscreen. And so it's just endless out there. And so by taking this feeling of overwhelmingness and trying to put it into 3 different sections, I focused on the ability to simplify it to a certain extent. Next. So the first topic that I refer to as Smother was rather jaw-dropping for me, as I think it is many who are observing and coming over to this movement. You know, many of you on the phone now know that there's 10,500 some chemicals in cosmetics, but yet in our day and age, only 11% of those have been screened for our safety. So there's many lessons I start to weave inside my book and the journey, and I like to try to reinforce that there's many different options that we can take as an everyday me, which I refer to often as an everyday me, that are small little steps that can make a difference. One of them that is fairly common out there, a nice first step for people to take, is to focus on nail polish that is 3-free, that doesn't contain these toluene and formaldehyde and dibutyl phthalates in it. And there's options now, and over the last 3 or 4 years, so many more companies are embracing this, embracing the idea that it's becoming a marketing liability for them if they don't go ahead and join this movement as well. Then there's also the concept that not only are there options and choices, but you can use less. Use smaller dollars, use a little less amount. Let your piggies run around nude and go without. And when I focus on these ideas, I kind of refer these to as penny-saving tips. Who doesn't like a penny-saving tip, a way to save money instead of having to buy a higher-end product just to get by? And during this journey, I became a huge fan of the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. I've been mentored by them. I now volunteer for them often and use their website as a huge resource, which I hope everyone does as well. The big part of Smother for me that's a change in mindset is that all the to-dos, the tips and the ideas, that they're not a to-do list, that becoming an environmentally health-friendly or focusing on the Choose Wiser way is not a task, but that it is a journey. And that as we replace a product from our bathroom shelves or our grocery list, we put it over on our list and go ahead and move to another. And it kind of allows that overwhelmingness to dissipate, and that you have permission, and you can encourage friends and family members that they have permission to remove that weight, that this takes time and it's a journey and not something that you need to spring clean and be done with it. Next. Devour. So when we go out on the task to take out synthetic preservatives, antibiotics, additional hormones, sugars, and colorings from food, what do we have left? Well, inside a grocery store, maybe not a whole lot, but what I really like to refer to it is that we just have genuine food. Simple, healthy, delicious, genuine food. And in my events or on Facebook, I find that this is the most conversational topic. People love to talk about food. In the most casual of areas, whether it's at the bus stop or some type of lesson lobby area, if any of these topics are going to be brought up amongst others, amongst women, then I find that food is a common ground. It may not look very different when you sit down and you look around what you've provided to your family, or say at this upcoming Thanksgiving. You may still choose to have milk, a turkey. You may still have to have vegetables of your choice. And as you sit there and you look at it, it may not look very different. And I find that after a lot of work that we put into this, creating little changes, that it's okay to realize that all the small changes add up. I think often it would be so much more exciting if we painted a room over and you had this instant gratification, a visual change. And that's what the devour piece taught me, that we have to mentally pat ourselves on the back and celebrate all of our small little changes. Just by being on this call, just because you are here today, I know that when you walk around this afternoon and this evening and you look around your home, you can mentally check off some of the things that you have already implemented into your homes. And I love that we need to take the time to celebrate that, because every one of those changes count. I have placed an excerpt of little changes on my website, and it's my journey through the egg adventure, what I decided to do, what my tips, ideas, and thoughts are there. And so that actual excerpt is on Choose Wiser, and it also has an audio portion as well. So that is free and out there for you or anyone else who would like to. Look at that. Next. So the next section would be immerse. And immerse starts within the home, the 1 acre, I refer to it as a 1 acre that we surround ourselves in. And it can include anything from cleansing our indoor air to our cleaning products. And that's where it kind of spills over from outside the homes into our schools or wherever our places of employment in our community. And it's also one of the most fun areas to communicate or plant the seed about environmental health with other people in your communities. I think it's the fun area because they can have fun creating the do-it-yourself cleaning products as we talk to them and share with others how if they just focus on replacing simple items such as chlorine bleach and ammonia and so that synthetic fragrances, that by just focusing on those, that so many of the other harmful chemicals are replaced by better-for-you ingredients by using the baking soda and the vinegars and the Casteel soaps and the endless combinations that we can use with those to replace the harsher ingredients. It saves money. There's less errand running. It's just as effective and kinder. And I love to have discovered and made friends and acquaintances with Women's Voices for the Earth as a representative that they have become for us in this area and what they offer with their green cleaning parties and taking a topic as cleaning products and creating it as a social outlet that we can have home parties with. I love the humor in the statements that the Modern Mermaid has once made on some of her products, her kinder and better for us cleaning products, where she encourages us with her products to clean naked. And just that simple statement is completely contrary to what we would know or do for the conventional, traditional products that I was raised with. Can you even imagine? Next. So now what? Inside, I have watched myself grow. Now I bloom on the inside with a sense of pride and peace and joy about the changes that I'm making. But I don't consider myself an eco-diva or a green goddess. They are out there and they are my mentors, and I'm thankful. I consider myself an everyday me, and in a sense, a fence sitter. I have this image in my head of me, my place in the movement is as a fence sitter straddling a 3-rail fence and reaching my hand down to the everyday me's and giving them a lift and a hoist over to the other side, planting that seed where they can then follow other organizations such as yours and start their journey in whatever direction they choose to be passionate about. Next. So is Choose Wiser, or what we do, what you do, is it green? Is it environmental? Is it politics? Yes, in a sense, or yes, absolutely, in different times. But I have chosen to never really convey it that way. My mission has become to about encouraging others to come aboard gently and with an invite. So this story, in a sense, is really about being a woman, being a survivor. It's about health, protection. It's about love. And I find that that's the common ground that everyone can connect with. Whether you're single, married, a mother, a father, or a survivor, that's our common ground. So if the number one tip that I would say to you if you had just entered this journey within a few months ago is to not do this alone. I think that's something that we tend to do, women especially, is we may take on a project in our own homes not knowing that 3 houses down or around the block or in the same town are other people trying to do the same things. So I say do this with someone else and use that common ground as the connection. Next. I mentioned fun a little bit earlier, and this is really important because I believe that there are things in my mind I refer to as door slammers. You know, if you come across alarmist information or academics that are just scientific and overwhelming, and it can take people and say, you know what, I don't have time for this in my journey, I don't have time for this, and it's kind of the door slammer action. And one of those pieces is, can we make this fun? Now I'm going to asterisk this, that for those of you who are on the call that consider yourself Someone whose strength is very good getting up on the soapbox, filled with anger and passion. Well, guess what? I need you in this world too. I need your emotion and your dedication. There's a place for all of us. But for my readers and my particular followers, they need a taste of doable. Is this doable? And here I hold on to the phrase of make it fun and it will get done. The slide that I have up now, I'm not sure if I said next or not, the slide that I have up now is an illustration of 4 little characters, ethyl and propyl and butyl and methyl. And this is from my book, and this was in the attempt of where I bring in parabens and introduce parabens to the readers. I take on subjects like parabens or PCBs or genetically modified food, and I flip it upside down into a very relatable and memorable stories. Next. So the third illustration that I have here, or the fourth illustration that I have here, is of a pioneer girl, or my rendition of myself as a pioneer girl. I don't think our journey that we are all going through is physically traipsing 2,000 miles, but it's a different journey that we have on our frontier in our generation to conquer, and that's shifting our routines and our thoughts. And it might be just as difficult, but in different ways. Maybe we don't have to protect our children from angry buffalo, but we are constantly battling against television commercials and pretty packaging and convoluted marketing. At the same time, we're always fighting for more time in our day as we juggle careers or soccer practice, karate. There's many of us that compare ourselves to other women and mothers who seem to be doing things better than we are. And regardless of how much effort we put into trying to do the right thing, we sometimes feel that it's just not enough. So choosing wiser isn't about guilt or cancer. It's about moving towards that healthier lifestyle by influencing what we smother in our skin, the foods we devour, and the surroundings that we immerse ourselves in. It's taking it to the next level, like many of you do. It's about encouraging innovative businesses and diligently supporting active change to protect the generations ahead so that one day we will and we can say that we cared, that we made a difference. Next. Just little changes for you. Diana, who introduced me here, you finished the book recently, and maybe you agree that by the time the readers hit, say, page 8, if I've done my job right here, you may be blinking really hard, maybe, to hold back some tears. And by the time you hit page 68, I hope that it hits you that you'll know exactly who in your life you need to hand or gift this book to. And by the time you hit, say, 108 or so, if you are a business or an organization in this movement, you'll really see how this is a tool for you to grow new clients, grow your organization, plant the seed to bring new people on. Next. I love this phrase that I have on the next slide. It says, you don't have to be the expert to make an impact. Just a caring human being who wants change. Next. There would be no peace for me if I kept silent. A quote from Rachel Carson, whose Silent Spring will be 50 years old this year. So where will you find me next? My focus is twofold right now. My focus is to continue to infuse little changes into book clubs, where we have this unique setting in our country and our culture where a book club is a safe place for people to discuss topics. They can talk about things that are new or shocking or more of a new issue to them where they're not judged. And they can agree and they can disagree about the book, but it makes for discussion. And if any way that I can create discussion amongst women about this topic, I'll be doing what I set out to do. Two little changes is available in paperback and an ebook and as an audio, and you can buy them wherever books are sold online. But I also sell them off at Choose Wiser, and by doing that, I can offer a deep discount when it's purchased in volume for book clubs as well. My other focus is working on the 2013, did I say that? Yes, 2013 spring conference schedules. I have booked myself through events from February through November right now, just returning from Purdue University and libraries, speaking on hay rides, and the nurses at hospitals. But my focus right now is working on the 2013 spring conferences, because connecting with the audiences is my first love. And I'm hoping to reach out and connect with those who are looking to bring inspirational and fresh speakers to their organizations. So I hope that you enjoyed connecting with me. I'd love to open it up, I think, in a few minutes here to questions and answers from my process, either as a self-publisher, what I'm doing now, or what I'm going to do going forward. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your journey.
Thank you, Kristi. And before we move on, I wonder if I could give you just a few more minutes, if you might talk a little bit about some very specific places in each of those areas, what we smother on our skin, the foods we devour, and the environment we immerse ourselves in. If we could just do one thing that we may not already be doing, what that one thing would be.
Absolutely. I could definitely give you some tips and share those. Now, I'm not sure if you're not already doing them, because I have a feeling we have a wide range of people here on the phone call. But I think there's some very basic places that are just so easy to share with others. And we talked about the nail polish a few minutes ago. You know, it's an easy change. It's something that we can do. I think focusing on triclosan in your toothpaste, antibacterial soaps, and personal care products, and replace that. There's a lot of alternatives in the conventional mainstream shelves out there. And one of the pieces is simply to start replacing products that are fragrance-free based upon that synthetic fragrance and the phthalates that are hidden within those lists. And even if people are replacing their laundry detergent or dish soap, they can do it fragrance-free, which offers a lot of options. Of course, then there's the next level that you can still consider using the essential oils. I think when it comes to food, one of the easiest places to start is to start replacing product by product what's in your kitchen that's canned, and trying to step forward and replacing those with fresh items. And now's the time to do it across our country. Thank goodness it finally hit here in Massachusetts, where we have things growing out of the ground. But we can start replacing that and choosing fresh over the canned. And if we can, and at different times, choose the frozen over the canned. So I like to say choose fresh over frozen and frozen over canned. Let's see, let me think here. I think so. A couple of the other pieces that are very easy to do would be to catch your idling habits. So are you a person, like we may be here in the colder places, where we let our car idle more often than not just to have the heat going a little bit more? Can we turn off the car when we're waiting around in parking lots or at the bus stops? I think when taking on spring cleaning projects, if you're painting over a new room, we now have lots of options where we have zero or low VOC-based paints. And if you go in to purchase paints, just simply ask, and they're going to show you those products, which is going to help your indoor air and your family. And I think having a lot of fun with the whole baking soda and vinegar and Casteel soap is just endless. And in the end, as you start replacing different cleaning products in your home, you're truly saving a lot of money, and that's just a nice little pat on the back to have as well. I had a lot of fun just last week creating my own weed killer. We have a brick walkway, and the stuff we used to apply on our lawns. Oh, but now I created a weed killer that uses vinegar with a combination of lemon juice and some Casteel soap that we sprayed onto the weeds in the brick walkway, and it worked wonders. A couple of days later, all the weeds were gone. I think those are some good starting points. What do you think about those?
I think that's great, Kristi, and I know that if there are folks who have further questions, we'll have an opportunity towards the end if we want to delve into any of those areas more. So thank you so much, and it's actually a great segue into what we'll be doing next. But I just want to thank you again for joining us today, Kristi, and sharing your personal story and your passion for helping others to also become self-advocates for their environmental health. I did really enjoy your book. It was refreshing to just read a story about a real person making these discoveries and feeling overwhelmed by all of the choices, and I think it's an excellent tool for reaching out to people. So thank you for bringing it into the world for us.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Smother, environmental health researcher for Alaska Community Action on Toxics, to discuss how Alaskans can get involved in sharing this vital information with friends, families, and coworkers. And Smother has led ACAT's green cleaning workshops and hosted environmental health house parties in both urban and rural Alaska, inspiring people to take simple steps to avoid toxic chemicals in their daily lives. And this information is not just relevant to Alaskans, it's for anyone on the line. Some of the work that we do is in partnership with Women's Voices for the Earth, and Kristi Marsh has also worked with them. So there's lots of resources out there to host your own party. And now, Smother, if you would like to go ahead and begin.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you to all the listeners and to Kristi for that presentation. It was very beautiful. Thank you, and uplifting. We here at ACAT, we are working now for a few years now, doing the house parties and green cleaning workshops. And the reason, there's various reasons for that. The first one, that why we do this is because we want to do outreach, and we believe that people have the right to know what's in their products, and they have the right to know what they're putting in their bodies, like Kristi was saying. And also because as we go and do this green cleaning workshops, we figure out and we notice that people want to learn more about it. So it's an excellent way to engage people, to share this knowledge, and to let people know that they have options, because most of the times, and many years ago, I'm an example. I didn't know that we have options until I started studying and reading and getting more related into this area as a researcher, as a consumer also. We've done house parties and green cleaning workshops, like Diana said, in urban and rural areas here in Alaska. We've done it, for example, we had an experience doing one. I did one with Sarah Petras. She also was an environmental health organizer here. They got, and we did one, I remember, in Casteel, and that was a native village of Casteel. That was a great experience. The thing that we do basically is sometimes we combine the workshops with a lecture series. Sometimes we have guests, and the last few we actually had the opportunity to bring Marta Arguello, Jeannie Rizzo. We had different renowned, actually, people that come and have this first part of the workshop to give kind of an introduction and a small lecture about how we are exposed and what are the things that we need to be looking at when we are buying products or when we are having health issues, like Kristi was saying, and telling people what they can do. And the second part of those house parties or green cleaning workshops is having a hands-on activity on everybody doing their own green cleaning recipe. So, and actually you can find this, we have a green cleaning guide, recipe guide in our website that you can access. That at the end, I know Diana was going to mention the the website address. And what we do is we basically provide some of the materials that people need and follow those. It's using baking soda, vinegar, Casteel soap, lime juice or lemon juice. And what we do is while we are doing the hands-on activity, we continue in a conversation telling people how they can reduce their exposure by doing this kind of simple, like the title of Kristi's book said, little things and little changes. And just by doing that, it's a huge, actually, change in long term. It's we tell people that it's low cost, it's easy to make, and it's a way really to reduce exposure. One of the things that we also do in the green cleaning workshops and house parties is that we take the time and the opportunity to tell people what's going on in the policy level and tell people that they have the opportunity to also make a change and take action at the policy level and do a little bit more than the cleaning, that they have the opportunity to do something more besides doing their own cleaning products and learning more about how they can prevent exposure at their home or at their work. And we are giving the message right now about this effort that ACAT and other organizations that we collaborate with on the TSCA reform, Toxic Substance Control Act, and how we are promoting the Safe Chemicals Act and how we want that piece of legislation to be changed to be make more protective of the citizens, of all of us. So we kind of integrate that knowledge component, providing and sharing that knowledge. We also provide the hands-on activities where we made our own cleaning product and we can take home. And also we give an additional piece or tool, we can say, to make people, or at least try to make people more aware and make them more excited about the idea of knowing that they can do something at the legislator level. So basically that's what we do. I don't know, I know Pamela Miller is here with me. I don't know if you want to say something. But that's basically it. If you have questions. We have this information, most of it, in our website. It's www.akaction.org. And there's a page about green cleaning, the green cleaning workshops and the house parties that we make that you can go to, and you can find recipes and you can find information about some of the chemicals that you find mostly in those products, that chemicals that are proved to cause harmful health effects. So please, if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Samaris. And now we would let me give the phone number also for Alaska Community Action on Toxics if you'd like to call and get more information about how to host a green cleaning workshop at your workplace or want to throw a house party. And that number is 907-222-7714. But now we would like to open the lines for questions and comments. So please wait a moment while we unmute the lines. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please press *6 on your telephone to unmute your line, and please state your name and affiliation. So the lines are now open. Again, press *6 if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment.
I have a question. This is Sama.
Yes.
Makeup. I wanted to ask Kristi, do you have recipes in your book?
Do I have recipes in my book? I am starting to accumulate the recipes at choosewiser.com.
Okay.
So that at the end of Little Changes, even though it's not a how-to book, I do put a section at the end that incorporates about 40 little changes for people to start with. Therefore, if they are inspired by my story and they wanted to go forth, that I didn't leave them hanging and leave them without resources. So I start them off with 40 little changes I recommend to start with, and then I go into a handful of basic chemicals that they can start replacing right away. And I chose them specifically because I felt that they were ones that you can have that feeling of accomplishment within your own home. There is an endless list of chemicals. I tried to initially categorize them by usage or impact, but I felt that this would be the best way. And then I'm putting a collection of the recipes both for cleaning products, but also do-it-yourself beauty products. We'll be expanding on ChooseWiser under a section called Recipes.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Don't be shy. I'm sure there are people out there who have questions. So just press *6 on your telephone to unmute your line. Maybe you'd like to share something that you've done, a step that you've taken that might also be of interest to the other people on the line.
I was just wondering where you can purchase the Casteel soap from.
Sure.
In Alaska or in
Missouri.
Oh, in Missouri.
I purchase mine from a couple of different places. I don't usually stay with the same brand because I let myself say that it's my job to experiment with different products. But I have found the Casteel soap, the Dr. Bronner's line. I have found that in Targets before, on their back end caps on clearance, which was delightful. I usually will purchase it at our Whole Foods that we just started getting a Whole Foods in our area. I purchase it in bulk in I believe it's a gallon container, because I use it for everything for our hand soap to basic cleaning when we use for camping, in the weed killer. So I use it for so many different multiple functions. Now, there are times that I have been also getting it through Vermont Soap Company. I'm thinking at the time they might be a wholesale. You might want to check onto them. They get through Vermont Soap Company, and that's online. And then another option might be going through Vitacost.com. Now, not all of their products are the better-for-you products there, but by going through Vitacost and looking for some of your personal care product lines, you can find things there often that are 20 to 30 to 40% discounted.
And what's the correct spelling of that soap?
The Casteel?
Mm-hmm.
The Casteel is Castile, Casteel. And what it is really is it's a vegetable-based soap, and it can come in bars, like if you prefer bars for around sinks or bathtubs, or it can come in a liquid, and it's the liquid form that I tend to use a lot in creating other mixtures. I have a cream scrub that I absolutely adore, and I make a little container of it and keep it at each sink around the home, and it's a combination of baking soda and Casteel soap, and it's what I use inside the sinks or up and around the edges of the toilets and bathtubs and cleaning. So Casteel soap.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have fun.
Kristi, hi, this is Pam Miller. I work with Selma at Alaska Community Action on Toxics in Diana. I have a question. I was visiting a friend with breast cancer who was in the hospital, and I think, your story is so inspiring, and I just thank you for all the work that you're doing. And one of the things that disturbed me when I was visiting my friend was that at the hospital where she was, the makers of personal care products and beauty products, the corporations there, had a very, prominent display, and they were promoting personal care products and beauty products for women with breast cancer that I think are quite harmful. And in fact, these are ones that we know have harmful chemicals in them, such as phthalates and other parabens and other chemicals that you spoke of. Mm-hmm. And I guess I wonder if you have particular advice for women with breast cancer, because, we have sisters, mothers, friends, aunts, ourselves who may have or in the future be diagnosed with breast cancer. If you have any advice or how you go about that when women are confronted with this kind of corporate campaign that promotes these unhealthy products that actually might cause further harm to women that are already in a vulnerable position.
Absolutely, Pam. I think that's a very wonderful and deep question in itself. I think to start off, the best way I can convey that is I have been asked often, people will come to me and say, do you think that this book would be something that you would give to someone who's enduring chemotherapy and breast cancer at the time, or any cancers? And it was funny because I caught myself thinking, there's emotional pieces in here that I reveal my story, and it is an overwhelming thing to take on in your life. And I got caught up in that, and I know by talking to my own oncologist team and my oncology team in the hospitals that there's a mindset of don't share with the cancer patients because they're going through so much already. And taking my mind back there to the time that you are fighting. You are fighting for your breath and the opportunity to have another day. You will do everything that you can take. And I remember feeling this feeling when I came across the fact that BPA has been associated with interfering with the ability of some of the chemotherapy drugs to work. Now, if I had known that when I was going through that, then I'm going to take every change that I could because I'm taking these toxins in order for them to be effective. I want them to be effective. So to think that we can't empower people who are fighting needs to be an old mindset. And I think the other thing that Little Changes does at the same time is that it shows the hopeful side. It shows I am 5 years out. It shows that you can do this feeling inside of it as well. So, yes, I think we do need to empower. Matter of fact, my 5-year checkup is tomorrow morning, and I am going to Dana-Farber Cancer Institute here in Boston with a box filled of books, and I'm going to line the libraries, and I'm going to hand out all complimentary and donate it to all of my team, my doctors and team members there, so that I definitely can start going that direction because, yes, I agree with what you're saying there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristi. And we're just about out of time, but I did have a question that maybe you can answer, or Pam, you may also know about this, but you mentioned fragrance-free, looking for that being a real important step with personal care products.
Mm-hmm.
And that is different than if it says unscented. Is that correct?
Sure,
unscented
This
could actually have synthetic chemicals that are harmful.
Right. Some, and I don't want to say a lot of, but some ingredients that are in products have smells to them. And this is going back to personal care products and whether it's a moisturizer or whatever it is, it has a smell. So then there is a science around creating other ingredients to make it unscented. So you're adding ingredients with scents that basically balance it out so that it's unscented. I guess that would be the unscientific wording of that. So if something is unscented, that doesn't mean that it's fragrance-free. So you really want to be going for the fragrance-free to reduce the exposure that you're having with different products.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And that's a great question.
Well, we are out of time, so I just want to thank our presenters again so much for sharing your time with us today, and also all of the participants who called in. And I'd also like to remind everyone that a recording of today's call will be posted to our website at www.akaction.org. There are also a host of resources there on the call page, including a link to the Environmental Working Group Skin Deep database, which is a great way to check out whether the products that you like are, how harmful they may be. It's a great database, and information about pesticides and food, all kinds of tips, plus as well Kristi's Choose Wiser website at choosewiser.com. So thank you again for joining us today, and if you have additional questions or comments, please feel free to contact us. The phone number again is 907-222-7714. You can also email me at Diana, D-I-A-N-A, at akaction.org. And thank you once again to everyone for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.